Hello and welcome. You're watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Buhai. Let's start with the latest developments. The Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine has started preparing a draft law on amnesty in certain areas of Donetsk and Luhansk regions. This was announced by Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, Minister for Reintegration of the Temporarily Occupied Territories of Ukraine, Obligatory. The government decided not to wait for the conclusions of the Venice Commission on the draft law on the transitional period. According to Obligatory, the new document will be more detailed and profound. It will specify the amnesty procedure. A member of illegal armed groups who voluntarily surrendered to Ukrainian armed forces the day before will spend 2 months in custody. This decision was made by the Severodonetsk City Court of the Luhansk region. Earlier, a 23-year-old man who fought in the ranks of illegal armed groups came to the position of Ukrainian serviceman on the contact line. He served as the driver mechanic since 2016.
We saw him and told him to raise his hands and lie down. He said that he served on the other side of the contact line. We disarmed him, tied his hands and made a report to the commander. Then, after a while, the commander came and took him away.
According to the investigation, since 2016, the suspect has been actively involved in the 6th Separate Motorized Rifle Regiment, named after Platov. He served in combat positions along the contact line and also tracked the movements of servicemen of the armed forces of Ukraine in order to conduct combat operations with the use of firearms, military equipment and artillery.
Judicial reform is the priority for Ukrainian leadership and personally for President of Ukraine. This was stated by the head of the Office of the Head of State, Yermak, during a walking meeting with ambassadors of the G7 states. He also noted that Volodymyr Zelenskyy is interested in the judicial reform proceeding at the same pace as other transformations in the country.
The parties discussed the implementation of the presidential judicial reform. Andriy Yermak, on behalf of the President of Ukraine, noted the inadmissibility of blocking it and the need for the judiciary to provide its representatives to the Ethics Council of the High Council of Justice as soon as possible. The President of the Venice Commission, Gianni Bucchicchio, told this as well. He supported the judicial reform initiated by Volodymyr Zelenskyy and appealed to the judicial authorities of Ukraine with a similar request.
Russian Gazprom has stopped gas transits through Ukraine to Hungary. This is reported by the operator of the gas transmission system of Ukraine. The pumping was suspended at 7 a.m. Kyiv time. Transit applications were not received despite the fact that Ukrainian capacities in the direction of Hungary were contracted until September 30th, 2022. To remind, this week Hungary signed a contract with Gazprom for gas supplies bypassing Ukraine. In our country, this situation is viewed as political pressure.
Monopolization of gas routes by the Gazprom, which we are observing now, raises the question of the fundamental principles of functioning of the EU gas markets, namely of competition and transparency. Strengthening of dominance of one player and its use of leverage for obvious political purposes amid a shocking rise in gas prices in Europe must be stopped.
The system of automatic weighing of trucks in motion was launched in Ukraine. Now, instead of inspectors with batons and weigh stations on the roads, there are special complexes equipped with weight fixation sensors and video cameras. To date, there are 56 of them. By the end of the year, they promise to double the number. The introduction of the complexes is set to prevent destruction of roads, regulate freight roads transport, ensure road safety and reduce corruption risks to minimum. During the first hours of the new system's operation, the number of overloaded vehicles on the roads has decreased from 10 to 4%.
It's a critical moment for us. During the next 1 or 2 years, we want to completely resolve this problem. We want to get rid of excess load on roads and automatically record every overload. Up to now, up to present day, all the responsibility for violations, all the fines should have been paid by the transport operators. Starting today, the companies sending the cargo are responsible for overloads as well.
Light or fine, Ukrainian drivers are required to turn on daytime running lights or low beam headlights. The rule is mandatory for driving on suburban roads. It will be in effect until May 1st. The police explained that this makes the car more visible when driving during the day and helps prevent accidents. Drivers face a fine for violation from 425 to 510 hryvnias. That is some 17 to 20 US. Most Ukrainians will pay less for electricity starting October 1st. This applies to those who use less than 250 kilowatt-hours per month. For them, the tariff makes a bit more than 1 Ukrainian hryvnia per kilowatt-hour. That is some 6 cents. For the rest, the price remains 1.68 hryvnias. According to the Ministry of Energy of Ukraine, about 80% of consumers are going to pay less. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy proposed to establish an award for teachers whose students became winners of international Olympiads. Today, he met with laureates of the Teacher of the Year award and the most successful school children in the country. Volodymyr Zelenskyy congratulated educators on their professional holiday. He also emphasized the important role of educators and teachers in the future of Ukraine.
Not only students who won the International Olympiads are going to receive the President's Prize. Teachers who made them ready, who taught them, will be awarded too. That is good news. And then I want to add, dear teachers, preschool teachers, tutors working in universities, dear all who taught us think, I want to congratulate you on your coming holiday.
Up next, Ukraine has completely switched to electronic sick leave starting October 1st. The doctors will fill out fewer documents now, while patients will not have to run around the cabinets. In addition, the data of electronic sick leaves will be automatically transferred to the Pension Fund of Ukraine and an employer. This is said to not only save time for patients and doctors, but will also counter corruption.
Now a person comes to the doctor makes a medical record, and after filling out the medical record, he receives a text message that one's sick leave is opened. This record goes to the pension fund, and from the pension fund comes a text message that the electronic sick leave is opened. Nobody goes anywhere else. The service has a great anti-corruption effect, because when it is digitized, it is possible to predict, it is possible to analyze how many times it is issued, which hospital, which doctor issued a sick leave. That is usually a reason for some abnormal situations, and according to our calculations, several $1 billion could be saved.
More than 12,000 new cases of COVID-19 were recorded in Ukraine over the past day. More than 1,000 children and almost 250 health workers fell ill. Most cases are registered in Kharkiv region. Besides, Zaporizhia, Odessa, Dnipro and Lviv regions are on the list of leaders as well. The Ministry of Health emphasized that vaccination is the most effective protection against COVID-19. They also urge to wear masks and adhere to social distancing. The fight against fake COVID certificates in Ukraine will be tightened. The police will join to check operation. The Ministry of Digital Transformation and the National Police have developed a special program, thanks to which they are going to verify the authenticity of any vaccination certificate.
Police officers will be able to use their service tablet to read the QR code from the certificate either on paper or in the DIA app. It is done in order to exclude the use of forged documents and not to endanger citizens.
Ukrainians will be suspended from work for refusing to vaccinate. This applies to those who are subject to compulsory immunization. This was stated by Minister of Health Viktor Lyashko. According to him, the corresponding order had been already sent for approval to the central executive authorities. Viktor Lyashko also warned that obligatory vaccination should not be confused with forced one. According to him, the Ministry of Health has never announced the forced immunization of the population.
The obligatory vaccination means a list of professions will be developed, including employees who are allowed at the working place having a vaccine. Either one undergoes a full course of vaccination and comes to work, or one refuses to get a jab and is suspended. The order provides a clear list of professions. Those are teachers of all education establishments, public officers of the central executive bodies, namely ministries, its subdivisions and departments in the regions, as well as local state administrations.
Residents of Dnipro city who have completed the full course of vaccination against COVID-19 can travel free of charge on local trams, trolley buses and subway. This way, the city decided to encourage people to get vaccinated against coronavirus. And it worked, doctors say. During the first weeks of the campaign, the number of people coming to the vaccination points increased. Details next.
Pensioner Yulia Halchevska gets her city travel ticket in the vaccination room. They are issued to all Dnipro citizens who underwent a full course of vaccination against COVID-19. The woman says she welcomes a pleasant bonus. She made jabs to protect herself from coronavirus. Besides, she is now able to visit her daughter living abroad.
She will be here for the new year. Said they will take me with them for 3 months.
Woman came to get a second jab together with her friend. Zoya completed her inoculation course 2 weeks earlier. She has known what the coronavirus is back in spring, together with the whole neighborhood, which became a local disease cluster.
Neighbors had a very tough flow. We all together also got contracted. I had a mild illness, however I did fall ill. This is worse than to get a vaccine.
Paramedics say after the institution started issuing travel tickets, more people became willing to get a jab.
Coronavac is particularly favorable among seniors. Younger citizens take Pfizer or AstraZeneca because those are spread abroad. Quite many seek to travel somewhere abroad.
Hospitalization is needed for patients who failed to undergo vaccination timely. After 6 months, a COVID center was again opened in regional Mechnikov hospital. Intensive care unit is again at the brim with 15 severe cases of illness.
Delta variant is of particular concern, and the so-called Indian variant. Around 80% of cases now are Delta. This is a new disease, new type of coronavirus, and it causes severe complications.
Although the region is among the leaders by the rate of vaccinations, only 20% of adults in the region underwent inoculation.
The epidemic rate is rapidly worsening, as we have 5 Ukrainian regions in the orange zone now. Our region is one of them.
Doctors stress that mass vaccination campaign is the only way to stop the rapid spread of the infection. Vaccination centers are operating everywhere from Monday to Sunday. Reported by Nick Starkov, Natalia Gusak for UATV News.
Yellow badges were Star of David. These unique items reflecting the Holocaust period are now present in the collection of the National Museum of Ukraine and World War II. The relic was presented from the family archives by British lawyer Philip Sands, a grandson of the Jewish prisoner of the concentration camp for Lviv. Now more from the following story.
So for me, my grandfather was a Frenchman, and he never talked to me ever about what happened before 1945. He lived until 1997. I was very close to him. I loved him very much.
About all the trials his grandfather, a Jew from Lviv, Leon Buchholz, sustained in Paris, Philippe had found out only in 2010. Then he for the first time visited Ukraine. He was invited to give a lecture on the violation of humanitarian law.
So in the summer of 2010, I told my mother that I was going to Lviv. And I said, "Do you have any documents from Lemberg?" So she went into her bedroom and she came back into her living room with 2 big bags full of papers and documents. And I had never seen these documents before. I was 50 years old. And it said that he was born at number 12 Sheptitsky Street. And in the materials were some of these yellow stars. These yellow stars I find very shocking. The first time I saw them, it was very, very shocking. And so here was hard evidence of the marking of my grandfather.
Philip recounted the story of his grandfather in the book East-West Street on the origin of genocide and crimes against humanity, published in 2016. This was when the workers of the National Museum of the World War II History of Ukraine found out about the unique artifacts.
Frankly speaking, I was really worried first time. We couldn't even believe that this is a gift. First time we thought items were temporarily handed over to the museum.
Today, 2 yellow badges with the Star of David formed the basis of the new Holocaust exhibition devoted to the 80th anniversary of the Babi Yar tragedy. 2 patches are the only 2 existing artifacts in Ukraine.
This is a unique exhibit and extremely difficult to find because their holders were simply killed. We couldn't find such kinds of items, although we searched around the world. This is a yellow Star of David, a badge used to label Jewish people. It served as one of the signs on the way to execution, representing one of the genocide stages.
Among the museum items, one can find a 100-year-old piano from Mariupol. During the Nazi occupation, it saved the life of a Jewish boy.
It was in the property of the Ukrainian Olenichenko's family. They later were recognized as rioters among the nations. So the family saved the life of a 7-year-old boy, Benjamin Boriskovsky. Turned upside down, the piano was serving as a hideout for the boy, virtually living in the space under the keyboard covered with blankets.
New project Holocaust shows the genuine scale and particular tragic effects resulting from one of the cruelest crimes of the 20th century. During World War II, Nazi soldiers killed over 6 million Jews. Every 4th of them lived in Ukraine. Reported by Nick Starkov and Yulia Granovska for UATV News.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter pages.